Okay, so now we're going to go over how to create a tab in Paperspace and plot a scaled drawing from Paperspace. So we're in model space right here, as you can tell by the tabs down here. And if we click layout 1, that is our default Paperspace tab. You can double click it to change the name. We'll make an 11 by 17 layout right now. Now you can right click that and do page setup manager, right? And we already have our 11 by 17 page highlighted. We're going to modify the page because if we go back and when we look, it's set to an 8.5 by an 11 right now. That was the default. So we're going to modify it. And I'll leave that the same. And we're going to change the paper size. Okay, 11 by 17. Want it to be landscape. Okay. And we see in the background that it worked. It changed. Double check, our plot size is 11 by 17 inches, so we're good to go. Now, what is already on our Paperspace page is called a viewport, right? If we go to our quick properties, it tells us up top that this is a viewport that we have selected, and you can use the default viewport or you can get rid of it, because if you notice on top, we have our layout tab highlighted, or we have our layout tab available now, which wasn't there before. So because we're in Paperspace, right? If I go to model space, that layout tab is no longer there. Okay, so we'll go back into Paperspace. We're going to click the layout tab up top, and here we can choose what type of viewport we want to add. Okay, so if we click this drop down, we can choose the different shapes of viewports, and we can create however many viewports we want. And what a viewport is a portal into your model space, right? So I have the same thing in 3 spaces here. And if I double click inside of the viewport, the purple line is the outline of the viewport. If I double click inside of one of these viewports, now when I zoom, I'm only zooming inside of this viewport. Now this can get a little confusing. The reason why I can freely scroll is because the scale down at the bottom right here is unlocked. I can lock this viewport, and now even if I'm double clicked inside of it, when I scroll, everything the scale is locked. I'm no longer changing the scale, because if I'm in this viewport and I'm just scrolling freely, every time I scroll, I'm changing the scale of this viewport drawing on this 11 by 17 page. This page is always going to print at 11 by 17. So depending on how far you are zoomed in on each one of these viewports will determine the scale that your drawings show up at. Okay, so I have it drawn, or I have it noted on this page that this drawing is supposed to be at a 1 to 10 scale. So I can go to my bottom here, this little drop down, and I can choose a 1 to 10 scale. And it's going to zoom in slightly and bring this into the perfect scale. I can lock it now so I don't mess up, and I can reframe this viewport as needed to show what I want it to show. Okay, I can turn off ortho and drag this viewport so that it shows me whatever I want it to show. Okay, say I only want to show one section for now. Okay, there you go. I'm showing that one section. Say that my floor plan, what if the floor plan was a different scale? You know, most often, a lot of times, your different drawings, depending on the size of your things, will need to be displayed at different scales. And sometimes you want to do that on the same page. So what we can do now is, this is an uncommon scale, but I can blow it up to 1/8, so it's larger than my other section, right? I can lock it, and so I know that this plan is showing up at 1 to 8 scale, right? And I can drag this viewport so that it displays the entire floor plan. And then once I have my viewports displaying properly, I can arrange them on my page as needed. So I know this viewport is scaled for my sections, I can copy this viewport and it'll show me the same exact thing. Now I can take it, drag down so it's showing a couple different things. Use it however I want. Maybe I want to show this other section that's over here. Drag it over here, move it over here, drag this back over here. Now I'm showing this section. Okay? And you just need to keep track of what scale each viewport is set to. Now, when you're working in viewports and you have viewports on top of one another because your layouts are complex and you want to get inside the other one, but you're in this one and you can't figure out how to do it, or you're stuck in a viewport and you can't get out, you can always cycle through viewports by typing Control R. Now I'm in this viewport. Control R. Now I'm in this viewport. Okay. You can also maximize viewports with this button right here, or by double clicking on the border of a viewport. It brings you into a model space that only exists inside of that one viewport. So you can essentially customize, that's getting a little bit advanced, but you can customize miniature model spaces per viewport. You can do a lot. There's a lot of complexity that you can do in paper space with viewports. But now that we have our 11 by 17 with our 10 scale sections and our 8 scale floor plan, we can plot the 11 by 17 in much the same way that we plotted our regular drawing. Okay, we can, I won't do previous, I'll do high quality print, ANSI full bleed 11 by 17. Now we can choose the layout because we know our layout is exactly the right size we want it to be. Scale 1:1 because we are printing an 11 by 17 page on an 11 by 17 paper. We'll choose the right plot style and let's see what happens. There you go. Everything should be the right scale as long as you print it actual size on an 11 by 17.